Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
Welcome to this week's National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. We have a great show lined out today, and Lee, let's talk a little bit about NFB Newsline.
Well, I tell you, NFB Newsline is a great service. It's a free audio information service. Once again, it is a free service, and it allows individuals that are print challenged to read newspapers, magazines, TV guide listings, job listings, Target and Walmart circulars. You know, you can even create your own newspaper publications. And, Brian is our guest today and a return guest. And Brian, you use NFB Newsline. We were just talking about something you said you didn't want to talk about, and that was the Colts and our loss that we had this past week. So, are you a sports enthusiast?
Absolutely.
And what do you use NFB Newsline for?
Oh, I check in with it every day, primarily for sports stuff, since that's one of my favorite things. But, I get in there and check the weather from time to time to get a detailed forecast if I want to know, how much snow we're going to get the next day or whatever, things like that. But it is definitely in my rotation on my iPhone. I never close the app. I always leave it open, and I'm using it all the time. Fortunately, I've been able to participate in the beta for the new Newsline mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been really excited with a lot of the changes that they have and the direction that it's going in. I think it's fantastic. I really do. It's, one of the things that happens to us that lose vision later in life is our world starts to close in on us. Mm-hmm. And so being able to access newspapers and do things that we got accustomed to doing for many years is nice because it gives us independence and allows us to kind of resume some of the normal activities that we used to do.
Yes, and you mentioned that you use your iPhone. Mm-hmm. And I know that we have other tools as well. For instance, we have the computer, the Victor Reader Stream. We also have the digital player from the Talking Book and Braille Library, as well as Alexa. And so we can access NFB Newsline in various ways. Now, do you also, do you find the time or get the time, or had you even wanted to look at the, you don't need the job listings, do you? You have a job.
Yeah.
Well, he might be looking for another job, other opportunities out there. And,
right.
And you have a plethora of consumers, too, that you deal with.
Yeah. Currently, I am teaching assistive technology over at BOSMA, and we have a rehabilitation center for people that are looking to rejoin the workforce or things along those lines. And so part of my job is to sit down and to show people how to use NFB Newsline mm-hmm. and to get used to using technology, whether it's their iPhone or their computer, all sorts of things that allow us to just do a lot of things that are taken for granted, whether it's emailing or texting or just finding out movie review, or, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely part of the joy of my job is being able to teach people how to, access the newspaper again.
And, as we always say, informed citizens make informed decisions. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we continue to strive to do, even though we have lost our sight or some individuals that have vision loss. Yeah. The world is not over. And you'll find out more about that after we come from break, because we have some very good information, some very compelling, heartfelt, I guess you want to say emotions, huh? Mm-hmm. You want to say emotions regarding this particular show, because Brian has been here before, and we're going to see where he has come from to where he's at today. So stay tuned.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free. If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. And I have the privilege of introducing today's guest, Mr. Brian Clark. And Brian, you are an Assisted Technology Associate at Bosma Enterprises?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show.
No, thanks.
You know, the last time you were here, several years ago, we discussed you were at a point in time where you were just beginning to understand your situation with blindness.
Yeah.
You and your lovely wife Barb was on the show, and we, it was such a compelling show. It was moving. You were at a point in time of life. You want to share that briefly about that point in time that you were in several years ago?
Sure. I think the last time I was here, I was just getting back from Hines. So that's the Veteran Rehabilitation Center, and that's such a life-changing event. Before I went up there, I'd had maybe 2 or 3 hours of mobility lessons, and I couldn't walk around on my own, and everywhere I walked, I'd grab my wife's hand and had to be led around. And, I was okay, I think, emotionally, and I'd come to grips with my blindness and all that, but I still hadn't learned how to become a blind person, at least not a very good one. So I had just gotten done with all that training, and that really opened up a lot of avenues in terms of me being able to pursue a job, because I had re-attained a lot of my computer skills, the ability to use a phone for communicating and things like that, being able to get around mobility-wise on my own and things like that. So I was raring and ready to go and on my path, getting ready to join the Randolph Shepherd vending program at the time. And I thought that's where I was headed. But, God has other plans for us. And while I was waiting for that vending program to start, I got a call from Deanna Austin, a person you and I both know through the VA. She handles all of the blind veterans over at the VA, and she gave me a call, and she had heard about a wonderful opportunity. A class was just starting, and it was going to be the very first class of its kind. It was a class devoted to those with visual impairments, and they were going to try and teach us how to be Salesforce administrators. And so the class, which is called Bosma Force, which combines Bosma and Salesforce, the class was about a 4 to 5 month program. It was very intensive. We met online every day for 4 hours, and there was lots and lots and lots of homework, as my wife can attest to that. But I went through that Salesforce class and successfully completed it, and eventually got my Salesforce certification, and started to do some internships and flex my Salesforce skills. And so while I was looking for a job in the Salesforce universe, I got another call. And this one was from Bosma, and they had a person who unfortunately had to leave their assistive technology department. And through my experience with a lot of the people at Bosma doing the Salesforce training, they kind of got to know me and offered me a position. And so now I get to teach computers and iPhones and all kinds of technology stuff to other blind people. And it's by far the best job I've ever had. It's extremely rewarding. I get to go and make an impact in the lives of blind people every day and share my knowledge. And fortunately, I'm kind of good at it, so that's a blessing as well.
Wow, and it sounds like it. So it's one of those things, Brian, we just never know.
Never know where God wants to lead us. And I can look back now and see all the steps along the way and go, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I needed to learn mobility, I needed to learn computers, then I needed to get better at computers, and then all these steps along the way kind of make perfect sense now. But when you're in the moment, it doesn't necessarily make sense as to why it's happening. And but we pray for patience and understanding and wisdom and things like that. And eventually God puts us in a place he wants us to be.
Exactly, and I'm a believer that whatever happens in our life, we've already been equipped.
Yeah.
And so you are definitely equipped. And so, go ahead.
Go ahead, Florence.
And so you're at Bosma Enterprises, you're teaching other people technology skills, the computer skills, iPhone skills, and using NFB Newsline along the way. So what else is happening in your life since you were on the show before?
Right.
I think you've got a new house, maybe?
Yeah, we've moved to the east side, so we're over on Washington Street, and it's gotten us closer to our church and a lot of other people that we've gotten to know in the blind community. In fact, our neighbors across the street are a blind couple, and we're able to minister to them and help them out and kind of fellowship with them and things like that. So, my blindness has led to a job. It's led to a job for my wife, involvement in the blind community and friends and a purpose in life and things like that. So, in many respects, it's a gift that keeps on giving, is how I look at it.
Well, my question to you too, you had some computer and technical skills prior to losing your sight. The transition into the technologies that we have to use, the access is totally different from a sighted person, correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, what would your recommendation be for someone that's becoming newly blind and they have zero skills with technology?
Right. So I think by far we live in a day and age today where technology really, really helps and makes a difference. I've only been blind for 5 years, so I don't know what life was like before that. But I do know that life today, I use my iPhone to identify products and help me navigate and entertain myself and communicate with others and look for a job and, all these different things that I can use my phone for. So it's just amazing how much it allows me to kind of maintain a quote unquote normal life, normal activities, things that sighted people may take for granted. But we're able to use technology to kind of do those same kind of things. So for a person starting at ground zero, I would definitely recommend an iPhone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a new one, a brand new one. You could get a used one or a refurbished one, and you're not going to have to do much else except get somebody to show you how to do it. Now, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. The online school Hadley, which is the school for the blind, has a bunch of really, really good videos out there that people can watch to learn how to use the iPhone. We offer a program every Tuesday over at Bosma where people can just show up unannounced. We call it Tech Tuesday, and they can come over for 2 hours on Tuesday afternoons from 1 to 3, And we sit down and we do that sort of thing. We sit down and we show them, here's how a blind person operates an iPhone. And believe me, I can use my iPhone probably pretty much as good as any sighted person. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it and having somebody show me how to do it. And now I get a chance to show other people how to do it.
Okay, Brian. Now, your journey with blindness, what would you consider to be your greatest challenge?
I think mobility is the greatest challenge, and it probably always will be, just because, you know, we can't see where we're walking around. And so we have to figure out. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just adds a challenge to everything that we try and do. It's not something that we can't overcome. It's not something that you can't get significantly better at, because I think I get better at it all the time, but it is probably the biggest challenge. Mobility and transportation.
Yeah, transportation is a big issue.
Yeah.
Here in a lot of locales. It's a very big issue for the, across the country, really.
Yeah.
But here in Indianapolis, it is, and Indiana, rural Indiana, is terrible.
Especially once you get outside Marion County.
It is
really hard.
It is so terrible.
Yep.
So we're going to take us a break, and we're going to come back and share some more information with you with veteran Brian Clark. So stay tuned.
Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Well, welcome to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. We're talking with our guest today, Mr. Brian Clark. And Brian, we were talking during the commercial about some technology out there and some apps that are working well for you. So let's continue in that conversation.
Sure. So, you know, new stuff comes out all the time. I mean, it's so exciting for me in the field that I'm in, just because it's like Christmas. About once a month, something comes along and it's like, oh, this is so cool. This is so neat. You know, the new changes with NFB Newsline are exciting. The stuff that's going on with Aira, that's AIRA, is just, it's just such a blessing and an amazing thing. Aira is kind of like a video chat kind of service where you can call a dedicated operator and you hold your phone up and that person at the other end can look through your camera and give you sighted assistance. The thing that I probably use it for the most is this. You know, usually when I drop something, I've gotten good. If I drop something, I listen for which way it bounces. And we can kind of hear where stuff bounces. So if it falls, I can pick it up. But if there's carpeting and it bounces a weird way, I'm gonna bend down and I'm gonna try and find it on the floor. And after about 3 minutes, I go, okay, this is dumb. So I call Aira, and I just hold my phone, and I point it at the ground, and they go, yep, it's over there. And so I reach over there, and I pick it up. And so there's a lot of times where it's just a simple 30-second call. Is this dish soap? Is this a can of, you know, whatever you want to identify. So with Aira, even though it's a paid service, now your first 5 minutes are free, which means anybody can call. Mm-hmm. And so just to have somebody on the other end, when my wife is busy and she can't help me, just to have somebody on the other end be able to give me sighted assistance is really a nice feature.
It is another
is.
set of eyes right there with
Yeah,
you.
and that's a great thing about Aira. They also have the glasses that goes along with that, and the glasses has a camera lens right in the bridge of it, so you can have that 180-degree vision. And I use that all the time, particularly as you talk about the difficulties with cane travel. It used to be where Aira would get you to a curb or a street crossing, and they couldn't help you any further across the street. Well, now they can do that as of this month of November. I think it was November 4th. So only thing they can strictly talk about is you crossing the street. If you're beginning to veer one way or the other, they'll correct you. Right. And that's a great tool to have. And then another piece about Aira is the Team Viewer. I don't know if you've used that feature.
I have not used that yet.
But it's on your phone. You can use it on your phone as well as on your computer. Okay. And if you're having a problem, so if you're new to the computer, or if you're just having a problem with it and you can't figure it out, you can call the agent up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can access your computer, and they'll help you fix a problem or create a document or review a document or fill in an application. Or it's just a fantastic service, and I just can't say enough about them because I really enjoy Aira. And for veterans, veterans can receive the service for $29 a month for 400 minutes. Wow. Which is fantastic. Yeah. 400 minutes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. You never use them. And I really like that portion of it too. So for veterans, you need this type of service. You can use it. And now, like you said, with the 5 minute, your 5 minutes is up, and then you call right back in. Yeah. And get continued 5 minutes. And if you're fortunate enough, like Florence has been in the past, you can receive the agent that you just spoke with.
So you don't have to explain what you're trying to do again.
That's right. And for seniors that aren't blind or visually impaired, you can use that 5 minute service as well. Yeah. So that's a great tool to have. It is. What else do you have there that you like?
So a couple other things that have come out in the past year that have me really excited. I'm actually wearing a little thing on my arm. It's about the size of a quarter, and it is stuck to my arm, and it's going to stay there for the next 2 weeks. And this little device, I hold my phone up to this little device, and it tells me my blood sugar. And so from a blind person, I can prick my finger, because I'm diabetic, and I can prick my finger and hold the machine up and do my blood testing, and I can do all that stuff, but I can't tell when I stop bleeding. So I make messes all the time. So it was very frustrating for me to have to deal with, testing my blood sugar. Well, now I just hold my phone up and I can tell what my blood sugar is and keep a good idea and stay up to date on all that. And so that's a thing called Freestyle Libre, and that's not even something that's designed for blind people, but it is something that has been made accessible to blind people. And the app on the phone is fully accessible, and I can get in there and I can work it and do all that kind of stuff. Another thing that came out a couple weeks ago is a service called Script Talk. And that is a service where they make special labels that go on your prescription bottles. And inside that label is a little device. And when you hold your phone up to your bottle, it reads the label and tells you what medications are inside. And so what that does is that allows me the independence to fully deal with all my own medications, because I can now tell what's inside each bottle. Not only can I feel the pills and kind of feel them that way, but when I get a brand new bottle of pills, I just hold my phone up. Oh, this is my blood pressure medication. And now I know what it is.
And these are tools that are free.
These are absolutely free, and they're on the iPhone. And what it does is it grants independence.
It does. It
Absolutely.
does. Now, you mentioned also something that was really interesting to me, something about grocery app.
Yeah. So within the last year, a service has started. It's called Instacart, INSTACART. And again, this is not a service that is for the blind people, but it has been made accessible to the blind. Instacart is a personal grocery shopping service where I take out my phone and I open the app and I pick what store I want to go to, whether that's Kroger or Meijer or Costco, Sam's Club, all these different stores. Once I pick my store, then I start to go through this list of items available. And if I find an item that I want, let's say I find Diet 7-Up, I just flick up on the phone and it adds it to my cart. And I can also go down and I can do searches. If I want to find Doritos or ground beef or whatever, I can do my search and then I find my item, I add them to my cart. When I'm done, I do my checkout. I pick the time that I want the person to show up at my house and I make arrangements for payment. I click complete my order. The person goes to the store, does all my shopping, comes to my house, comes inside my house, drops it on my kitchen table, says thank you very much, and that's it. And so now I can do all of my grocery shopping, if I want, completely on my own.
Independence.
Independence.
Independence, and that's what we all strive for, whether we're sighted, blind, or whatever. So we're going to take us a break, and we'll be right back with the conclusion of our show with veteran Brian Clark.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
We want to thank you so much for joining us again today, and I'm trusting that you learned so much from our guest today, veteran Brian Clark. Brian, I want to thank you once again for being our guest and sharing so much valuable information, and we continue more future success. And next time you come in, maybe you'll have some other successes to talk with us. I'm sure you will.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's always good to see you guys. I thank you for your service from one veteran to another, and not only that, but what you guys do with Newsline is amazing and certainly appreciated by all the blind community.
Okay, well, Florence, you want to wrap us up and maybe share a little bit about our upcoming event?
I'd like to tell you about our upcoming event. It's going to be December 7th. It's called Angel Child. It's going to take place at the Speedway Moose Lodge here in Indianapolis.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.